Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nordic Championship. My name is Jake Hitbrain Matthews, and I'm joined by Dan Orcs Harrison. Yesterday, we saw Team Singularity drop into second place after dropping their game, and Vipers, with a very, very close win, kind of dragged over the line by Dem Voxney on his Ezreal, have now been able to lock themselves into first place at the moment, but there's still a little bit more to play for. There's only one game that separates these teams, and they and Dusty are currently in the kind of main running for that first place going into playoffs.
Yeah, and it's still a big fight for that. Dusty obviously can close the gap, but there's a lot of sort of up and downs around who's actually going to make playoffs as well. And I think that's the interesting thing, because obviously there's a big difference in seeding. If you get first, you're playing against a fourth place team compared to second versus third. But the major thing to me is, are you making playoffs at all? Because it's still quite up in the air. And yesterday we did see Orlando get ruled out from playoffs, but every other team can still make it. Right now, Vipers and Singularity are locked into playoffs, so it's just those last two spots that are open and available.
There's only two spots remaining. Let's have a little refresher of where everyone is standing here. Let's bring up the standings and see where our teams currently are. So, Vipers in first place with 9-2. Team Singularity, one game behind them, and Dusty only one game behind Team Singularity. So, our top three are very, very close there. Then Hillerod, Northern, Bifrost, and Hybrid all still technically in the running. So, those last two spots in the playoffs, so I have to see who can make it. And like you said, Orlando, unfortunately for them, they have been knocked out. So for them, it's a matter of kind of proving your worth while also playing a little bit of upset. So let's have a little look at our schedule for today and see what games we've got coming up. We start the day with Dusty versus Vipers. Then it'll be Nordic taking on Hillerod, Team Singularity versus Bifrost, and we're rounding the day out with Orlando Esports versus Hybrid Esports.
And there's a lot of stakes here. I think the heaviest stake match is that match 2, which is Nordavind against Hillerod. If Nordavind lose that match, they are in a really bad position. The only way they make playoffs is they have to win all the games next week, and Dusty has to lose all 3 games remaining in the split. Because if they lose that one against Hillerod, they lose the head-to-head. Even if they match them in points, they still don't end up beating them. The only team they can catch, which has a neutral head-to-head, is Dusty. But again, when Dusty on a huge win streak, if your playoff condition is them losing the next 3 games, it's not really a good one. So Nordavind, they need that win if they want to keep playoffs in their hands. But even then, it's not sort of a good condition, because Hillerod's their schedule for the next week is playing against Hybrid and Orlando, our 2 bottom teams, whereas Nordavind have to play against Vipers, who are number 1 squad. So it's still heavily favored towards Hillerod. But Nordavind, if they want to keep it in their hands, if they win every game remaining, then even worst case scenario is they'll get a tiebreaker with Hillerod.
Yeah, so that's obviously the stakes we're playing for on those ones. But let's have a little look at our first matchup of the day. It's obviously going to be Dusty taking on Vipers. Let's talk a little bit about these teams and kind of the form we saw, because Vipers yesterday, even though they did win their game, I think it's safe to say that that was nowhere near as close as it should have been. It was them versus Hybrid, and Hybrid were kind of smashing them for a little while. You saw that Hidden fell pretty far behind on the Elise, and it was on to Dem Voxney on his Ezreal. I think he had like 78% lifesteal or something stupid, just to kind of negate that Ezreal, the Ziggs poke being thrown into him. But he really put that game on his back, and we really don't, if you're the side of Vipers, you really don't want to have to see that again. So what are we looking at coming into this game? Where are our concerns?
I think a clear identity for draft. So they put a lot of early aggression in their composition. I don't think that's something you should necessarily do against Dusty, as they have shown that they are a team who can withstand pressure well. They're running again with Dem, who is their assistant coach, as their mid lane instead of Legions. So they're going to be a little bit weaker than their full form, but they showed yesterday they could play a scaling composition, leaning on the back of the power Hoy's had on their Ziggs, Dem on the Karma, and it essentially just made them really hard to deal with when it got later in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they won off the back of Hoy's playing on the Ziggs last game as well. He's just popping people. He sent you a... It was Hoyes who sent you a little video of because we saw a kill happen off screen. And it was literally a QR, just one shot on the enemy AD carry. Hoyes kind of just popping people on that pick, and he got so fed. And Dem was just doing his job. He kind of played the Karma, just became that kind of like thing just would absorb so much pressure that you couldn't really deal with him. Like, there was nowhere to kill him. There's nowhere to stop his clear. He just played a neutral lane and just absorbed everything that came at him. And then in the later game, he was there just to shield and empower the likes of Hoyes and Coincidence, who was on that Yorick.
And here's my concern here is that Demb into Poulsen. Poulsen has been such a formidable mid laner. I feel like Poulsen to Legions would be such a hype matchup to see. But Demb, he's going to have his work cut out just surviving in this lane matchup. It's going to be interesting to see the priority in champions. I think Syndra could honestly come out as a ban from Dusty, although Dusty could well flex in the bot lane. But I feel like if you put Syndra in the hands of Demb into Poulsen, I think you're asking for trouble. And I feel like maybe for that reason, they'll end up banning away as this third one here. Just setting stakes for this game. So Viper's obviously in first, trying to hold on to that. Dusty, if they win this game, then the worst possible outcome is a 3-way tie for third, which means that 2 of the 3 teams would make it to playoffs. So there's a very low chance of them missing playoffs if they win this game. But even if they lose, they still can make it back and secure their spot. They're a pretty comfortable spot, but if they win this, it makes it almost impossible for them to miss out on playoffs. And they do ban away that Syndra, so not want to give that over to Poulsen, who's shown a lot of strength on it.
Yeah.
And they've been targeting Hidden in the jungle so far with this Elise.
Pretty hard, yeah. I mean, like, almost in a way that Elise ban is kind of a saving grace for Vipers after the performance we saw from Hidden yesterday on it. But the Nunu pretty standard versus the like of Vipers. It's one of the comfort picks for Hidden. Kind of deny that from him. On the side of Vipers, they have taken away some more of these kind of standard meta picks. They've taken away the Ornn, they've taken away the Senna, they've taken away the Gragas, and now we're over to the side of Dusty, as they're looking to pick up the Thresh as their first pick here.
I actually like this. Only 35 has been extremely good on the Thresh, and I think Thresh fits this place where it's so versatile, because there are issues with champions like Braum and Tahm Kench. If you blind them, they can pick enchanters, which you're going to have a bad time against. Again, if you pick champions like Leona or Nautilus, they can match those with Braum, Tahm Kench. It's like a rock, paper, scissors. Thresh breaks that. He does fine into champions like Braum, Tahm Kench. Like, Tahm Kench does stop him from being aggressive, but you can still offer a lot of utility. And then into the other matchups, into the enchanters, you can punish them. So I like this as sort of a versatile pick. It also sets up Hoyes to play mages, as it offers that lantern for safety. But Viper's going to quickly answer with the Ezreal, something that it's a little bit difficult to land that CC onto and take advantage of the death sentence from the Thresh.
Yeah, Den did so well on that pick yesterday as well, so another kind of good pickup for them. They get Lundorf onto the set as well, something that's nice and comfortable in the top lane.
It's not the Garen.
It's not the Garen, so...
You're not going to see the Ignite Garen that we got from Lundorf yesterday, but I'll take the set.
Wait, was it Lundorf who ran it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. In my head, it was Lockeden for some reason.
Or was it Lockeden?
I think it was. It was Lockeden.
No,
yeah, it was Lockeden.
Yeah. Oh, it's. I haven't done this all split, but just when I first read their names, Lundorf and Lockeden, I'm like, I'm gonna get this mixed up.
Yeah, I honestly thought the same, but I'm amazed you're the one to do it and not me, to be honest. So props to you.
But Set coming out in the top lane, so a pretty stable pick, but it is going to go up against the Yorick. In the later stages, it's going to be a little bit difficult to deal with the split push, but early on, the Set's fine in that matchup. He has the attack speed to sort of deal with the cage. I'm pretty sure we saw that matchup recently.
Yeah, it was Coincidence yesterday playing.
Yeah, into Set. Yeah, so I'm not going crazy.
It's okay, man.
Seen the Misfortune?
Brain's a little fried. Yep, Misfortune picked up for Hoyes, so he's not going towards one of these kind of mage bot lanes. The Ziggs was open, but into this Ezreal decides he doesn't want to go for that. He wants to go for something that can actually, apply a lot of damage for the team in these big team fight scenarios where you can put the bullet time down.
Yeah, I think potentially concerned maybe they pick up a Yuumi on this third rotation, and it means that the Ziggs' effectiveness is limited heavily. By going the Misfortune here, you're going to pressure the Ezreal, you're going to have priority, and you're going to be able to do something with it. Misfortune does scale well, a lot of team fighting power, but potential vulnerability up against the likes of a Set and a Zoe. So Poulsen, he's got one of these strong blinds in the current meta. The other ones are LeBlanc and Syndra. Syndra banned away at the moment. And it's going to be difficult for them to answer with something that has to avoid the challenge of the Zoe, because I feel like unless you're playing a tank in the mid lane, almost any champion can die to a bubble into Sleepy Trouble Bubble into Paddle Staff on the Zoe rotation, which makes it a little bit difficult. We're going to see the Jarvan banned away, so not wanting them to combine that combo off of Jarvan Misfortune, which is so effective in team fights. Although, in all honesty, I feel like there's not too much threat because you have the Ezreal who can get away from those situations, although I understand the limitations there for the Zoe. But either way, targeting Joachim's champion pool a little bit. He did play that Echo yesterday to a massive amount of success. Was robbed for MVP, if you ask any of his teammates.
Alrighty, well, let's have a little look at the bans. We've seen the Jarvan and the Blitzcrank both taken away. Vipers probably, well, maybe looking to pinch into this mid pool again. Like things like LeBlanc are fairly comfortable blind picks, but again, it's Dem. So is Dem going to be comfortable to pick up that, or is he just going to pick up the Karma once again, something that kind of just neutralizes lanes?
Well, he's not.
They ban away that Karma. They recognize that. Makes sense there for the side of Vipers, and now Dusty. Maybe looking just to pinch out into that support pool a little bit more. Maybe they take away the Yuumi, but Ezreal MF, well, Ezreal into the MF Fresh with a Yuumi is a hook could just cause disaster for that lane.
And you lose any early pressure. I think you need a support that's going to be able to offer something in return. We do see the Trundle come out, something that you could flex between Hidden and Bebop Bully. So I think that's the reason for taking that one off the card. The fact it does function as a flex pick, and they don't want to. They want to know what is locked in here, essentially. When Denvoxney picks up a champ, well, not him personally, but when he locks in a champion here, they want to know what they're going up against, whether it's going to be the jungle or the support, and it allows Dusty to react to at least one of them. So it forces a Rek'Sai, an early pressure jungler for Hidden, but one that I don't think is super favorable blind. It has good gank paths, but you're going to struggle to really do anything against Yorick in the later stages because he just murders melee champions. And a Thresh at all. Thresh really great at interrupting Rek'Sai and just limiting his effectiveness. So not super convinced so far from Vipers with these picks, but we'll have to see. The big question here is going to be what can Dem play into the Zoe. If you want to play another Enchanter, looks like he's going to go for the Anivia. So this was banned away from him yesterday.
Yeah.
Something that he's just going to look to wave clear on in the mid lane and try and survive as best he can against Paulson.
And again, it's one of those picks that can kind of just shut down a lane in the sense that it just doesn't interact with stuff. Once you've got level 6 and you've got the ulti, I can't remember the name of it, the Frost Storm, let's just call it for now. But Glacial Storm, I think you're right. Once you've got the Glacial Storm, you can kind of just AFK in the lane, just whack out a minion wave and step back. And Dem was moving around the map quite effectively in that game as well. Getting into the top lane with that teleport early, it was a little optimistic, but it at least shut down any potential for a dive, that 3-man dive that was going on top side. He was moving around the map. He was clearing waves out and just rotating to play with the team. He was playing that utility, but Lundorf is on the Jax.
In the side lane. So going for something that's going to be able to match up, hopefully, to the Yorick in the later stages of the game. Similar spice with the Triforce.
Does that mean it's set support?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be the set support. So we've seen this quite a bit coming out, typically paired up with things like the Callista, but also with the Fasting Senna. I've seen it. So essentially, you're just going to be playing a support that, because the thing with Set is that a lot of his damage comes from his Haymaker. His Haymaker is based on how much health he has lost to transfer into Grid. It's not based on his AD. I mean, there is a factor for it. That's from AD ratios. But the most part, it's that HB. You still have all the utility from your CC. And essentially here, they're given a good matchup to Lundorf. Hidden has a lane that he can play around to apply pressure. And it's a win condition that can last later in the game. Because if Lundorf gets fed, that Jax can just dominate the side lane. Because I feel a little bit concerned about the rest of the composition. Ezreal and Zoe are really punishing combos in terms of poke. But I don't see how you're really going to be able to translate that super effectively unless you're ahead. Because the thing is, you have just so much wave clear available to this Anivia, so you can just murder waves again and again and again. And I do think the one aspect is there isn't a super high amount of engage coming out from Dusty. You really kind of relying on only 35 and Joachim finding good opportunities to land that CC. But I say the limiting factor to that is if they do find an engage onto the Zoe and they catch her out, then it just kind of dismantles the rest of the composition. So I like that they have this sort of scaling win condition. The set in the bot lane, it serves its purpose. Essentially, you're paired with an Ezreal, so you don't really need to do that much. You're just going to farm mostly in the early stages of the game.
Yeah.
And really, it's going to be watching these junglers and how they impact the map. I feel like Hidden has to have an extremely good game in the early levels because it's quickly going to get to the point. Once level 6 is a hit, it's very hard to do anything Joachim. Because you can't burst him in a rotation without help from your team. He'll be able to ult to cancel out your ult so you won't take the damage. And ultimately, the Echo is just going to scale far better than you.
And yesterday, when Hidden was playing on the Elise, it was that kind of pre-6 marker that we also set for him there. He didn't really do anything until after 6. And you could see the plays were a little forced, a little desperate, because he was recognizing that, oh, I haven't done my job early. And because of that, he went 0-4 and he had a pretty rough go of it. Obviously, he was able to kind of bounce back later with the help of the rest of the team. But like, if he has a game like he did yesterday on the Elise, it's really going to be a rough kind of omen almost for our first place team here in the Nordic Championship.
Yeah, absolutely is. And I think you have to sort of be trying to play around the top lane to set that one up. There are other areas you can look to punish. I think every lane has potential to be played around. Bot lane's not going to have priority, so that means you can potentially cut in and look to attack that. Mid lane is an option if you want to punish this Nivea, obviously with the sub off Dem. But I feel like if you're playing to the later stages, you kind of need Lundorf to be relevant in that 1v1, because I don't feel like it's a guaranteed matchup into the Yorick. If you do fall behind on the Jax, you're just going to end up losing out against him and the Maiden.
Well, looks like the teams are about to get ready to head on to the Rift, as game number 1 will be kicking off here in the Nordic Championship. I've forgotten what week we're on. Week 6?
Week 6.
Week 6.
Tell you what, though, playing champions like Set and Rek'Sai into an Nivea in the later stage of the game is just not fun at all. The wall just does so much to block you. Trying to find any sort of angle into the back line. The CC and the slows available, as well as a huge amount of damage, is going to make it hard on top of that. And I feel like Dusty very capably can just sort of cement their mid lane. Once they hit level 6, they have the wave clear, and I feel like you're going to be struggling to take down that mid lane tower. And we've talked many times about how if you can sort of maintain that mid lane outer tower, it denies the team who are trying to be aggressive for such a long period of time, because they can't push forward their area of vision. They struggle to contest these brushes sort of near the Raptors and also near that blast cone in the blue side jungle. You can struggle to push that far forward because you can be flanked very easily. The turret gives the enemy team cover if they want to kite backwards. Overall, Vipers need to be set in a fast pace, and I want the priority to be set on these neutral objectives. Dragons are nice if you want to sort of make that soul a pressing objective, which we saw them do yesterday. They sort of stacked up dragons very early, and it meant that the enemy team had to contest that soul, which sort of put them on a timer. But also the heralds. You want to take these opportunities to break down towers when you can, give that gold advantage, and that's when you can potentially look to punish. I also think that blue buff, second blue buff, is a major objective to deny from this Anivia, because the only way you're really going to force her on a reset if she's TP-less is by denying that blue buff. Otherwise, she'll just sit mid, she'll clear, she'll clear, she'll clear, and there won't be really much you can do about that if you're trying to sort of apply pressure there.
So it's all on early. Like we said just before the game started, it's all about early game here from Hidden on this Rek'Sai. So curious to see what Joachim's going to be able to do. He played really, really well on the Ezreal when we saw him play it yesterday. As Paulson has thrown down a ward, so they'll at least know if they see him go over there. And Hidden's actually looking for a very cheeky invade. Has got a level advantage and will spot him out with the
Might use, actually.
Yeah, did use that smite. Hidden holding for the moment. He's not going to go over the wall quite yet. I think he's looking to try and burst Joachim right now.
I think she's just waiting for the blue. He has vision on it. He can just walk over and smite it, but they both have smite available, so it would be a trade.
Paulson's moving in. They've got that knockup. They've got the damage to work with. The bubbles thrown down to zone, and with a furious bite going out, Joachim needs to throw out the Q, but Paulson's looking to chase him forward. This will be his blue buff denied. Hidden steals that one away. It's a free buff start for Vipers in the jungle, and that's a better start for the side of Vipers.
And ultimately, they forced Joachim to use his smite. As soon as that was done, they knew there was no contest coming out for the blue. They can translate that into the scuttle. And what I really like is the usage of the Zoe here. So Zoe had actually picked up an exhaust, and that basically cemented a guaranteed 2v2 win. Even if Dem moved over, even if he landed all his skills, having both Paulson's heal and the exhaust available just meant there was no chance, no matter how well they played it, that Dusty would be able to find their way into that one. So good start already, denying that blue away from Joachim. They're going to try and look to pressure Dem here, but he sees them on the ward, so he'll back away. But the critical thing is that means they've already stolen away the first blue. They have the timer for the second blue. I expect to see a recontest, and then they're going to deny this away from Dem as much as possible throughout the game and limiting the wave clear potential off that Anivia. I've got to say, though, Dusty doing a good job of warding, covering their solo lanes, because potentially Quinstance and Dem could have gone down here if they didn't have some area vision watching Hidden. And Joachim, he can use that vision. He knows the position off the Rek'Sai to invade here. He also places down a control ward in this brush, so we'll see him pathing forwards. And there's also a ward put down onto the Gromp. I'm not sure if that was from him or from only 35 moving up. Ultimately, good vision control from Dusty in the early game, allowing Joachim to sort of challenge in these areas. And now they're going to look to shove in mid lane and give a reset over to Dem, who has no mana. So, good play.
Yeah, he's got that teleport to be able to head back into the lane as well. Poulsen doesn't have the teleport, so it's going to have a bit of a harder time to go with it. But now, hidden top side as Coincidence isn't there, so he's not going to be able to find himself any opportunities. As Joachim moves over just to try and get some kind of vision, some kind of control around this top side of the map, as Lundorf could just be in for a bit of a gank here. The wave's pushing in. They're going to throw out the slow zone, and Lundorf may just have to flash, uses the ward hop to be able to get away.
The critical thing is breaking the freeze. Joachim's doing a great job here of just helping his laners out. The gank obviously is there to threaten Lundorf away, but ultimately Poulsen had the wave frozen mid, Lundorf had the wave frozen top, and both Demb and Quinstance would have had to overextend to break that and be potentially vulnerable. So although Joachim 0-0-0, he's done a lot to set his solo laners up so they can farm safely and contest the wave. So really liking this coming out from Joachim.
Looks like they're trying to see something onto Joachim, but Poulsen just able to walk it out.
This one wasn't a break freeze, that was just an actual gank.
Yeah.
But Poulsen is able to just walk away. He's on low mana though and feeling a bit threatened. And this is a difference in this situation, is that Hidden isn't helping Poulsen reset. He's not giving that assistance. And Lundorf is also, he's going to be in a bad position with his wave as it's shoving in. Now, the counterpoint is he's level 6, Quinstance is level 5. So in a 1v1, he's not very threatened as he has that ultimate available and there's no Maiden. But I think this is showing a stark difference between junglers in the early game. Hidden very set on just trying to find ganks, trying to pressure those camps, whereas Joachim is just helping his laners as much as he can.
And even with Joachim actually having that really kind of rough start, getting ganked in by Poulsen and Hidden, Hidden hasn't done anything since then. He's tried to, but the ward coverage by Dusty has completely shut him down, where Joachim's just been playing fantastically well around the map, around setting his lanes up, and now looks like he may get caught out as he's looking for the crab. Actually gets it.
Gets it
and just gets the
out.
lantern away.
Oh, that was smooth. I like that. I like the fact that even with the threat around him, he still looks to prioritize the scuttle and manages to get away with it. So good play. Dusty, considering how we put emphasis on Vipers needing to find early success, you want to have a lead as well if you're playing a poke comp, but especially when you look at the scaling differences, Dusty are doing really solid.
They are indeed. Lundorf does have a CS lead top side, got his Tiamat as well, so this wave that's pushing in shouldn't be too much of an issue for him, but Coincidence now with the Maiden, with the Ghoulies, it's going to be a little hard to deal with. Kind of puts that into that 2v1 lane. That's a very long-range double up onto Bebop.
Now, with 30 seconds away from the Herald, Dragon hasn't been touched. I think the big factor was that Scuttle Crab being denied. You can see Vipers have a ton of wards in the area, but the Scuttle Crab means they can't essentially just go for this Dragon without and guarantee they won't be contested. But the big objectives coming up on the map now is Herald spawning soon, and also that blue buff for Demb is spawning. So this could be a situation where Dusty look to take the blue buff, secure that, and potentially contest the Herald and trade that off for a Dragon. You can see now Hidden start it up. They have vision of this. So I expect to see Joachim head to the top side of the map, hand over the blue, and potentially start up that
I don't know if he
Herald.
can, though. Look at the priority they've got in the mid lane. Poulsen almost finds him. Does get himself down into the egg form, but doesn't really have any more damage to work with. So Dem will be able to survive this one. Actually finds himself a bit of a stun as Lundorf dodging away from Coincidence. That's just a free Dragon, and now Vipers, if they want, can move their resources up towards the top side of the map and get a Rift Herald.
Yeah, there wasn't really a contest coming in. Lundorf moves over, shows his face, and makes sure that Joachim wasn't starting himself. You can see now the contest is actually coming in on this blue buff.
Yeah, Hidden's going to be able to steal away the blue. Joachim does jump onto him, has the level advantage. Hidden, though, able to just tuck and dodge away as Poulsen gets a big chunk onto Dem. Not enough to find the kill here, but he does just about dodge out on the bubble.
But this is the critical thing. Blue denied from the Anivia. I'm not even sure if Joachim was going to hand it over, but if you look at how low Demb is and the fact he has no mana available, he is not having a good time. And Lundorf's looking for him.
Lundorf's got the helicopter on. Dem flashes away, puts up the wall, and now Joachim looking to try and turn that back around. The bubble will go pop. Not going to find its mark. A teleport used by Coincidence as well. A lot of resources thrown down to the mid lane to make sure Dem doesn't die. Meanwhile, Poulsen and Coincidence Just scrapping it out in the mid lane. Poulsen's able to make his way out nice and safely here.
A little bit of a missed time on the stun for Lundorf. Ends up using his flash, but still doesn't find anything on a Dem, but he gets away just in that situation. As you said, though, a lot invested, but Dusty managed to mitigate the loss of their mid laner. Although there are CS leads built up in the mid and top lane, bot lane's been pretty fine. And this is what we expected in this matchup in this 2v2, that the Misfortune would pull ahead. So far, it's now about 800 gold lead for Vipers, and that is mostly off those CS discrepancies. We're looking towards this Herald now as a big objective on the map. We can see a ward is actually spotted hidden. They know he has gone for this.
Yeah, and his solo lanes are on a reset right now as well. So
yeah, this is actually really, really poor timing. And Hoyes is moving over. This is Misfortune, remember, with all that passive movement speed. So instantly, Hidden starts to feel threatened as the solo laners move away, and he will back off. Herald is going to reset now. And Dusty are fine to sort of... Actually, as I say that, I was going to say they're fine to sort of reset the timing, but they see Demvoxne in the bot lane, and they make the call to go for the Herald. And this is something that Vipers have often done. If they're not able to match on the Herald, and even if they are sometimes, they try and send Hidden to do it by himself. If he can't, then they just let Demvoxne push in the bot lane. And they trade the Herald for some flat plates, which can go nicely when you can find a plate advantage, because obviously the whole point of the Herald is getting those plates. But if Dusty use the Herald properly, they get the tower low first before using it, it can very much set them up to take a whole tower. And they're not going to do that here. They're going to instantly throw the Herald down, and that gives an avenue for Demvoxne to actually match.
And Den's getting some serious solo gold to himself. They will get a couple of plates here. They may just find this turret, as now Coincidence looks to answer out on to Demvoxne. They got teleports coming in. All of the gang are showing up bot side. Coincidence uses the cage a little early, and Bebop just buying out that time. That's going to be the showstopper. And first blood given over to Lundorf. Now Dem does look to turn it around, gets himself a kill onto Hidden, but Poulsen comes over the wall, and Demvoxne gets himself a return kill. A lot of gold pumped into the AD carry. Meanwhile, Hoyes and Joachim will get themselves this first tower blood topside, but a lot gained for Vipers on the bot lane.
But I gotta say, it's a 2-for-2 trade. Yes, they're gonna keep hammering away at the tower, but ultimately they denied them from taking it on that initial wave. It was cleared out with the AoE available to them, but also just from tanking the tower. And actually, Demvoxne, only 35 doing a lot to stop this. Investing both his summoners there, but ultimately the tower survives. And now Hoyes is running over and should be able to get here in time to defend. Especially with the lantern thrown down. He's threatening with the lantern here. That's
the bait.
Nice little trick. But ultimately, Dusty, I feel like the Herald usage was a little bit off in terms of if they delayed it, they could have used it on the last couple of plates, sped up the whole tower taking process. But ultimately, the defend bot lane, they end up trading 2-for-2. They stall it out long enough so that Vipers can't trade in towers. And Dusty are able to pull ahead slightly in that regard, even though they're still down in gold. They got the first tower blood, and they denied that from Vipers.
Well, 12 minutes on the clock. Gold lead is in favor of Vipers, but very, very close either way. I would expect Demvoxne to have a pretty significant, or at least substantial, lead over his counterpart currently, if we can toggle the gold. Thank you very much. No, it's dead even. Okay.
You got to remember the first tower gold coming in, and the extra plate.
I thought the kill and the assist and the solo plates he got was enough for Den to...
His tower blood worth a lot.
Yeah, it really is.
Is a big factor. But the advantage we are seeing is the solo laners of Vipers have pulled ahead a little bit. Poulsen being threatened.
Yeah, Poulsen getting jumped onto here. Looking to dodge that out as Joachim actually does use the ulti. He's been caught out for the moment, has to flash away. That was a fantastic catch there as Poulsen looks for a bubble. Can't find his mark though, once again. As Lundorf did get some free time in the top lane, got himself an additional plate.
And that's one of my concerns, is that Lundorf is actually pretty ahead in gold compared to Coincidence. That's going to make things a little precarious, but Bebop...
Oh, able to dodge away. Does get slowed down for the moment, but Bubble's been thrown out, and Hoyes trying to dodge out as much as possible. Showstopper will just pull only away from his team. Demvoxne finds the kill. Deb gets caught out by a bubble as well, as the bullet time is going to separate the team and scatter them all out, but Poulsen pops himself an egg, and now looking to crack it open, getting himself the sleep, getting himself the chain damage. Bebop Bully takes out Dem. And Poulsen out of mana, but he's out of mid lane as opponents anyway.
And Dusty committed to that fight. Dusty took that one. They said they wanted to look for a pick. They misplayed it. The team fighting prowess of Vipers comes in clutch, and ultimately, there isn't really much Dusty could do in response. Joachim didn't have his flash or his ultimate available, only was without summoners, and right now, Dem really isn't offering much on this Anivia other than wave clear in the mid lane. So I think a bit of a miscalculation there. I can understand you don't want to keep handing over these dragons, but we've talked quite a bit before about how 2 is completely fine to give away. It's the 3rd one where you want to start contesting if you can.
And look at what map we're on as well. It's an Infernal map, which means this poke comp, they're going to hurt if they can get this Infernal Soul. Zoe with Ezreal, the amount of damage you can throw down, just landing those Qs every now and then. It's a scary scenario for Dusty to find them in, so they are probably going to look to try and contest this. It's Lundorf building towards this Triforce on his Jax, catching this wave. It's getting dove topside, though. You can see that the jungle is looking to jump onto him, but it's pretty safe here on the Jax, just able to jump away to the tower nice and safely. It's Pulsing.
Dem finally gets his blue buff on the Anivia, so nice to see. It doesn't mean he'll be able to just sit mid and just power through these waves. It's struggling a little bit in terms of farm, definitely, but all things considered, could be going a lot worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, DreamHack quite comfortable just clearing out these waves, shoving it in, stacking up his Manamino, building towards his Triforce. Dem getting chunked a little bit out by Pulsing.
This tower might become a little bit difficult to defend. Hidden is on the bot side of this map, and they have pretty strong vision control. There's nothing for Dusty to take on the top side, so they are just going to look to respond in this regard and try and mitigate it for as long as possible. Joachim is looking to push up and assist with the clearing of vision here. There was some really aggressive wards. But this does mean that while they're moving over and clearing out the vision, it does end up just sacrificing this tower. It was so low, you ain't going to hold on to it too much longer. They did save the last plate gold that wasn't handed over to DreamHack. But ultimately, this does push Vipers to about 1,700 gold lead. So they're in a pretty positive spot, but we did say the pace needs to be in their favor. They do have the pressure now, but this mid tower is the big focus point, I feel. If they can break that, great. And the Herald is spawning soon, so that could be the tool to do so, but Joe can potentially looking for a flank on a Hidden.
Gotta be so scary, though, with Pulsing waiting in the wings. Bebop's moving down as well. Hidden playing with fire. Coincidence looks to find out Bebop here. Bebop throws out the showstopper to avoid some of that damage. Gets a Haymaker shield off. In comes the counter strike. Joachim jumps back out with a Chrono Shift. Bebop goes golden and flashes away. Coincidence able to answer out. Lundorf chasing Coincidence through the top side as in comes DreamHack. Hidden secures the kill onto Joachim. It's a jungler for support, and this should just be rift-tailed over to the side of Vipers.
It definitely favors Vipers in this situation. I think they were looking for Hidden, but they found someone else. But the trade-off here is going to be this tower. So DreamHack moved up. So it does mean they actually managed to make a pretty good trade of things for Dusty. But the big downside is that Herald is likely just going to be thrown in mid. Just I'm saying that top tower gets traded. So definitely favoring Vipers here.
Yeah, now that Triforce has finished onto Lundorf, he's going to be really scary dealing with these waves. Crucial Barrage gets thrown out by DreamHack. I think trying to stop the bases, but at least spins the wave out for him.
It doesn't matter. Dem, he can reset TP back in, but the Herald is going to mean the end of that mid lane tower. And a sort of good setting for the early to mid game is getting all those added towers down.
Oh, they're
not even need the Herald. Yeah.
Dem teleports in, but he can't clear the wave in time. He takes a big old chunk of damage. Pulsing does use the freeze Zhonya's to get away safely from any dangerous damage that could land onto him.
Yeah, once the player safe, the stun does connect, and obviously there's a potential follow-up there, and I think having the active available and on a timer, you might as well make use of it. Right now, though, this means that Vipers can continue their sort of aggressive play. They can start to push this vision deeper. They're now contesting mid-priority here, and they're going to be looking to rotate and contest this vision around the Raptor camp. Already Sleepy Trouble Bubble comes down.
Yep, finds his mark, only gets chunked. Half his health gone.
Reset comes in from Bebop Volley just to pick up some more wards and that stone plate. They're actually giving a little bit of breathing room over to Dusty, and they're going to be a bit late on this dragon. So it's 30 seconds from spawning. Normally you want to be setting up a minute before an objective, because right now Dusty, they're going to be pushing this wave in. They're going to rotate back and consolidate their vision. Although actually only 35. He's going to reset because they're low HP. So I think this dragon, you're just going to have to give up at this point. You've lost your supports off the map. You have no more wards. Vipers are going to clear it out. it's going to be hard to push in and contest this one because Zoe offers so much threat when you're walking into the fog of war. This might just have to be a steal attempt from Joachim, backed up by the Lantern.
And the Chrono Shift as well. So he's actually able to zip in if he wants to.
They're going to try and push the mid wave to contest this and walk through the river, but ultimately Paulson is playing a pretty strong angle here.
Yep, gets himself the bubble off, has himself the X-Tech hose pipe as well, but he's not going to use it. Looks like he's just going to try and portal jump over the wall and clear this wave out. Dragon still getting started up as Lundorf finds himself a solo kill. Dragon is secured. Mid tower will fall, however.
Yeah, you'll take that from Vipers. Dusty, I feel like having to reset so late with only 35 cost them massively. It was clear they didn't want to fight regardless, though. They did back off from the area. Lundorf finding the solo kill pretty big. We said if this Jax gets ahead of the curve compared to the Yorick, he's going to be able to find favor in the side lane. And it's now soul point for Vipers. So one away from that Infernal Soul. Devoxny is pushing for more on this tower.
Yeah, Devoxny is just absolutely mincing through that tower as well with the Essence Flux. Only he's going to try and catch him out of a hook, but Den holds his Arcane Shift, and he is still nice and safe here on this Ezreal. Got the backup of his team as well. Leaning towards spot side, as now Lundorf is the one who's going to try and catch this wave. Joachim tries to jump forward with the Proto Belt, but just an Arcane Shift over the wall means Den's nice and safe.
A lot of pressure on Ezreal, and he's on a pretty strong spike that Miromana should be stacked up pretty soon. And at that point, I feel like the big thing for Vipers is going to be getting control of the entire Baron area and just threatening. Just sort of trying to call a bluff from Dusty, get them to face check into it, potentially look for a pick. It's 3 minutes and a half till the Dragon. So I feel like you can play around that later. But
Lundorf has been caught out, uses the counter-strike to just buy himself some time, some space. The Wall of Flesh has been used in coincidence, bringing down the shovel. But Lundorf has got that Corrupting Potion ticking, and he looks to be getting away from this one. Throws out the counter-strike once again as the Rift Arrow gets summoned topside by Hidden. Then Voxney making his way over. Bit of a weird Rift Herald, actually.
Yeah, not very close to the tower, so we're going to have to push it in quite a long distance, and that gives a chance for Dusty to respond. But ultimately, they saw enough members on the bot side of the map, so they decided to make a play and a response. And you can see Dem is trying to move over. Mike get caught out here. He's on vision there.
Yeah, Hidden's able to kind of zone him off. Den's moving the way forward, gets the charge down. This will be the end of the turret. Stun is not going to find its mark, and Voxney trying to hang close enough to get this local gold. He will find that, and now only in Joachim looking to see if they can find something onto the AD carry here from Vipers, but Voxney playing a lot of respect, a lot of space on this Ezreal, not very wanting to get caught out. That bubble was extremely close to landing onto Hoyes. The paddle star does find its mark. Polston just flashes forward. The Spell Thief blocks are going to do so much damage. His Hidden's on the chase. Prey Seeker will be enough to find the kill, but he can't quite connect it. Now Dem's jumping in forward. Polston flashes, misses out on the bubble, has got himself caught out for the moment. A lot of damage thrown onto him. Polston, no flash, no heal. Everybody closing in on him, but Hidden is going to be that big old wall to keep his mid laner alive. Joachim just flashes forward, uses the Proto Belt, chasing onto him back towards the mid lane. Joachim is finding himself a kill onto Polson.
Just good play, good engage to punish. Polson and Hidden went so aggressive there. And I feel like there had to be some sort of recourse. Yes, Dusty aren't looking to hard contest them in the fights, but when Polson uses all those summoners and more to push forward, you have to look to try and shut him down for that aggressive play. And it gives a little bit of breathing room to Dusty. It's a minute 40 on that Dragon, but only 35 might be caught out.
Oh, actually, looks to find that hook. Goes golden for the moment, buying some space.
He's just dead.
Dead needs one more auto attack. Lands it, gets the kill.
Not sure what the game plan was there. It was clear he was trying to look for some sort of flank on Voxney, but it looks like Voxney just flanked him right back. And he ends up going down at a pretty critical time because only 35 is just going to respawn a minute away from that Infernal Soul. And it means that Vipers are already going to be in place, setting up the vision and controlling the area. And we talked already, playing up against a Zoe Ezreal who already have vision control is extremely difficult. It's so hard to push in with all the threat from those Sleepy Trouble bubbles and just a huge amount of burst that Voxney has. Now he has that fully stacked mirror mana.
Yeah, Voxney also just pushing in one more wave as well before they get onto his Herald. So pulling the waves as far and as close to the base and as far away from this Infernal Drake as possible. Hoyes and Only go to answer out. So they're going to be having to step away. This buys time for Voxney to get the base off. He's 700 gold away from finishing his Blade the Ruined King. Lundorf got a free tower bot side as well because of the earlier push. He's gone for the Black Cleaver and the Triforce build, so it's that kind of maximum cooldown reduction build here, and Armor Shred, so it gives him a really, really solid 1v1 versus Coincidence. Lundorf with Teleport feels comfortable to be able to sit in the top lane. If any scraps do break out around this Infernal Drake, he can just TP in. His team don't have insane vision control like they have on some of the earlier dragons we've had in today's games, but...
I mean, in all honesty, I feel like DreamHack staying top lane for such a long time, you didn't need to shove it that deep. Honestly, you should have slow pushed it, then moved down to help establish vision. By being so late to the objective, you're allowing this to happen. Dusty have control of the area, and now Vipers are trying to push in.
Well, they're teleporting forward. That's the true shot barrage onto multiple members. Hidden goes in for the steal, secures the soul as a massive slam comes down, and the fight is just cleaned up. It's an absolute whitewash in favor of Vipers. A full ace.
And it looks like it doesn't matter if they give up control of the Dragon area. They push back in and take it with force. Hidden secures the smite, they get the soul, and now with 5 members up, they head straight over to the Baron. Vipers once again, it starts to look as if it's getting a bit too late in the game, and they just put the pace on and destroy the other team.
Hidden getting his name back after losing the Baron yesterday to a mid laner while he still had smite. Jumps into the pit with 1,200 health left on the Baron, on the Dragon, sorry. Secures soul for his team and secures a full ace. Meanwhile, the Baron Nashor is secured. A turret will fall to Lundorf. Poulsen shoves in mid lane, and the resets are going to come through. The gold's going to get spent. Then Voxney finishes up his Blade the Ruin King and gets a stopwatch. It's feeling pretty rough now for the side of Dusty.
I mean, this is Lundorf level 16 to a level 9 Thresh. Only 35's walking up there, but I don't think you actually want that one. He would just destroy you right now. And Dusty, it just feels like they haven't really been able to bring anything together. I felt like the contest in the second Dragon was a bit ambitious, but it sort of meant they weren't in a position to contest the third, and then it gets the soul point. Even if they'd won that team fight, they would have already lost the soul, and the fact is they lost both. So just not in a good spot here. The scaling is going to take quite a bit longer to sort of come in, but you've already lost the side lane matchup quite massively. Demb is going to struggle to wave clear against these Baron minions, and right now with the Infernal Soul already available, the poke is going to be huge. We've got the 3-item spike for Voxney, and it's 4 minutes till that Elder. So even if you withstand the pressure of this Baron, there's another objective that you have to fight coming up. And with a 9,000 gold discrepancy, you're never going to be in a good position.
27 minutes on the clock, and Vipers doing pretty much what they did yesterday, except this time they have a jungler with them, and you can see how much cleaner, how much quicker the game pace is when Hidden is playing on form.
And it was still a slow early game. It didn't feel like there was that much pace in it, but it was quickly the controls started to go in favor of Vipers. Especially around that second Herald, picking that one up. Some good rotations to get towers. And now they're just looking to take as much as they can. Lundorf seems untouchable in the top lane.
Yeah, he's taking out that inhibitor like it is nothing. Meanwhile, Voxney free-firing away. Coincidence now getting jumped onto by Lundorf. But Lundorf just able to peel back. The wall is not going to find its mark. Inhibitor in the bot lane will forward. Inhibitor in the mid lane is being opened up by Poulsen and Bebop Bully. Lundorf, he's just being so slippery, so hard to pin down. They're one inhib out there as Lundorf actually does use the counter-strike and assassination! Dem Voxney finds the kill, and now Vipers are looking to seal the deal right here, right now. Only gets picked up by Poulsen as well. Another kill for Dem Voxney. 6-0 on the Ezreal. Make it 7-0. The turrets are being cut down right now by Bebop and Lundorf, while the rest of the team are just doing zoning, are just going for glory. Then goes golden. The Nexus explodes. 28 minutes on the clock. Vipers demolish.
And it just feels like it was a ball rolling down a hill. Starts off slow, and then the pace just becomes unstoppable. Vipers, their first Baron, they end the game off. They get all 3 inhibitors. They have the Dragon Soul. It really felt like the early game, there wasn't too much pace, but as soon as a bit of momentum was given, this Vipers roster just absolutely took over. And obviously, we have to take into account this is our top team in the league against Dusty with the sub, not at their full strength. But still, a pretty strong performance for Vipers. And this will cement them at the first place spot for the end of week 6, because they can't be caught by Singularity now. And on the other side for Dusty, This isn't a huge deal. It does mean that their playoff spot is a little bit in the air. They are still quite comfortable, but they do need to take another game if they want to cement it.
Yeah. Now, next week is what I'm excited about because our second game of next week of our first day, Vipers are taking on Team Singularity. So if they can beat Team Singularity there, that is it. They have literally locked themselves into first place. Singularity won't be able to catch up at that point. So if they can find that win versus Singularity and deny them that's so big for Vipers. So all eyes are going to be on for next week's game number 2 of the first day because wow, that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think with Vipers playing like this as well, it's definitely a good omen. Now, I don't think it's flawless. Obviously, the early game was a little bit slow. And I do have to praise Joachim for his play around his lanes to set them up. Sort of when the lanes were frozen, bad positions, he did offer that helping hand towards them, but ultimately it wasn't really enough. Vipers had a pace in this game, and when they started to get onto it, they just ran away with the game.
Yeah, they completely ran away with that game, but we are going to cut to a quick break. We still got more games to go, though. Coming up after the break, it's going to be Nordic taking on Hillerod, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second.